Hello, in this video we're going to be discussing ways to find statutes. Statutes are one of the main primary sources of law. They come from the legislative branch, that is, Congress. One of the places that you can go to find statutes is the website of the United States Government Printing Office and their source, the Federal Digital System, or FDSys. This is a great source because it's free and it's official. The first thing we might do is go to Browse Government Publications over on the left. Once we've selected this, we can see that there are lots of different things available to us. So the first thing to know is what the United States federal statutes are called. They are called the United States Code. Almost any time you see the word code in legal research, you're probably talking about either statutes or regulations. If something is a code, that means that all the law in it is up to date and that it is organized by topic. If we select the United States Code, we go to a page where it gives us an option of choosing a year. If we're doing current research, we naturally want to choose the most recent year available. Statutes are updated in sort of a rolling process, so it's possible that even if you go to the most recent year there is, you might not be able to see all of the titles. If that's the case, it's because your title has not been updated yet and you would need to choose the prior year. In this case, since we're interested in gun control, we can do a little guesswork. We'll go to Title 18, Crimes and Criminal Procedure. If we expand this title, we get all sorts of subtitles. If we already know what we're looking for example, if we know that our citation is 18 USC 923, we can see we're in Title 18 and we want Section 923, which falls under Part 1, Crimes. Within crimes, we can either continue to look for our section number using these, or we can make a logical guess. For example, firearms seems like a logical place. We expand this, and now we see Section 923 is about licensing. Over here, if we click on text, we get the plain text of the statute. If we want to be a little bit more official, we might have selected PDF. And this is the actual page of the United States Code. This is a rather long statute. Starting here, it takes several pages. Many statutes can be as short as just a sentence or two. Once a statute is finished, you do get some bonus materials. The text of the statute ends here. We have a history note that tells us about when this statute has been amended and when it was first made into law, references in text, amendments, etc. So if you need to know the history of a statute, it will be included with the statute itself. Another place that you might go would be back to LexisNexis Academic, where we searched for case law. From the main LexisNexis Academic page, select Search by Content Type, and then choose Federal Statutes and Regulations. You could run a search here, but statutes are actually a little bit difficult to search since they often are so short. I would recommend choosing Advanced Options and from here clicking on Annotated U.S. Code, USCS. At this point, we get something that looks very much like what we saw back on FDSys. We can choose our title, Title 18, Crimes and Criminal Procedure, and click down through the same way that we did on FDSys. Unfortunately, LexisNexis Academic does not include those helpful section numbers, but it does have a quick find, so if you know a good term or two, you might put it in. This can be very helpful or less helpful depending on your subject. In this case, if we use something general like guns, we'd actually come up with a great many search results, so we might want to be a little bit more specific. Another way to narrow it down, which is very helpful, is this search box also works for individual parts. So if I put a check mark next to Title 18, I'm now searching only what you can find in Title 18, and that will narrow it down significantly. Though at the same time, guns are still very relevant to crimes and criminal procedure, so we'll get many results. You might want to get a little more specific. Gun control. Run our search, and now we only have 17 documents to look through, including our 18 USCS 923. Since we came through here, it jumps us immediately to where our search terms show up, and search terms can show up in the annotations. So what we're seeing here is not part of the statute itself. If we scroll to the top, we see the statute. And then following the statute, we see the history notes and the amendments that we saw in the official code, but more importantly, at the end of this, there are annotations. Annotations are bonus materials that are editor created, and you won't get them for free with free online sources. So we see other relevant statutes, we see secondary sources, like legal encyclopedias and treatises. We see law review articles and citations to the American law reports. And maybe most importantly, we see interpretive notes and decisions. So those are cases that cite this particular statute. If we know what we're interested in is licensing requirements, we're probably interested in 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So once we scroll down, as we can see, here are 3 cases under 13 that deal specifically with premises from which to conduct business. Remember that once you find one good legal document, that often leads you to other good legal documents. So from this statute, we found good and relevant cases, and it also works the other way. If you have a good case, you should look at its citations and see what it cites to, including it cites to this particular statute. At the moment, we've looked just at federal statutes on FDsys and on LexisNexis Academic, but state statutes are naturally available too. From LexisNexis Academic, they would be under the search by content type, state statutes and regulations, and then the process would be very similar to the one that we just went through. They're also typically available on state government websites. Each state government website is different, so the statutes might be more or less easy to find on it. This is the website for the state government of Indiana. From here, if we choose the Law and Justice tab, we then scroll down to the middle of the page and select Resources. At this point, there's a link in the middle of the page entitled Laws and Administrative Code. Under Laws, we can choose the Indiana Code, which are the statutes of Indiana. At this point, we could run a search. You might want to narrow it down and just search the code, or we could continue to narrow down. We can either select a title from here, or if we want to, there's a pull-down menu. So we can choose Title 35, Criminal Law and Procedure. From here, we might want to choose an article. Article 47 is Weapons and Instruments of Violence. And at this point, we've got the different chapters along the left side here. So if we know that we're interested in Chapter 2.5, Sale of Handguns, we can jump right there. One of the important things to know about statutes is that they often work together. If you're unsure about how particular words are being used in a statute, you might want to check near the beginning of whatever chapter you're in and see if there's a section on definitions. Sometimes words have very specific meanings for a set of statutes, so if you're ever unsure, check the beginning of the section and see what you can find. Other state government websites might work differently, but they should all have their state statutes available to you. I hope this has been helpful, and the next video will cover searching for regulations.